Hey listeners, Dan Harris here, host of the 10% Happier podcast. Imagine all your audio entertainment available in just one place. That's what the Audible app is all about. With Audible, you can always find the best of what you love or discover something new. Audible has an incredible selection of wellness titles and originals like The Light Podcast by Michelle Obama, Work It Out by Mel Robbins, and Confidence Gap by Russ Harris. Membership includes access to Audible Originals, podcasts, and tons of audiobooks that you can download or stream as much as you want. And as an Audible member, you can choose one title per month from an ever-growing catalog of titles to keep. The Audible app makes it easy to listen anytime, anywhere, whether you're traveling, working out, doing chores, wherever your day takes you. New members can try Audible now free for 30 days. Visit audible.com/Harris or text Harris to 500-500.
This is Full Change with Tom Laidlaw.
So we got Mr. It's our intro, so we can talk about Mr. Berard coming up.
Let's go. Let's talk about. We got a great show coming up. Talk about how are you doing today?
But we were really we got pretty tight. Like a lot of stuff went on with him being the first overall pick in the draft, the eye injury. At one time, we sat at a training camp with Toronto Maple Leafs.
But hold on, don't give it away. Don't give it. We got a show coming up with the guy.
Going down to give it all the details. Just
they're teasing a little bit.
So that's what we call it, a teaser in the industry.
Oh, the industry. Okay,
yeah, cool.
For sure. You kept your eyes. You have green eyes. They match your shirt.
They're hazel.
Hazel. That's kind of green, right?
Women say they're kind of enchanting.
Do they?
Yeah, you know what? I get called like I'm charming and charismatic is what people say.
Who said that? Who says enchanting? So my daughters have green eyes too, but they're kind of actually a bit of yellow in their eyes, which is you probably have that in hazel too.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen enough time with your eyes in the mirror, right? You check yourself out.
Just some red in my eyes sometimes too.
You just what?
There's some red in my eyes sometimes too.
True. Because you're getting up at 2:40 a.m. every morning.
3:30, big boy.
You took some days off though. I saw, and that's good. And what happened? And the earth is still turning.
I know, but the consistency, that is part of the true grid life. Consistency. You do it every day. You go back to the farmer. My father and grandfather, the farm, those cows get milked every day, 365 days.
So
that's kind of what
they're going to put that on your tombstone. They're going to say he skipped a day.
I know.
2023. How dare he?
Oh, it felt terrible too. Oh, man. Saw another guy walking his dog yesterday. He says, oh yeah, I hear you every day at 3:53. You talking to the grasshoppers.
Yeah. People love that. What does that mean?
Grasshoppers, yes. Yeah, that's funny because I didn't know what I was doing at all when I first started all the social media stuff. And I just was joking around calling by grasshoppers based on the old kung fu movie.
Now it's a thing.
Yeah, walked down the street. So, hey, grasshopper.
Oh, that's happened to you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This has never happened to me before, but I was at the rink and I got recognized.
Your voice.
Someone said, you do the podcast with Tom Laidlaw? I said, how would you know that? He said, recognize your voice. I hate my voice, but...
Well, you hate your voice? Why?
I don't know. I always feel like, when you hear a recording of it, you feel like it sounds different.
Really?
Yeah. But he recognized, he's like, I love the show. I love the old stories. His name was Rob, police officer, friends with Gary Dorkowitz. And he loves the show, loves the old stories.
He was actually at the golf tournament too, wasn't he? Was he there?
Gary Dorkowitz was.
Yes, but they caught a bunch of cops.
So his name he's a firearms instructor. I forgot his last name. His name was Rob. He was a big fan of the show, and he liked all the old stories. So
Full Change podcast. You came up with that name, didn't you? How did you come up with that?
We were struggling for names, you remember?
Right. And I'm not that creative guy with names.
But it was just Full Change, like because the people they're transitioning from playing days to post playing days, and Full Change is you hear that at hockey rinks all the time. Full change, full change,
Full Change too.
So
Full Change, very good. Yeah. I don't think I didn't name myself. I named my sons Shane, Jonathan Laidlaw, and Cody Hall Laidlaw.
Nobody's name. Oh, Jonathan, is that from John Wayne? Even though his name's really bad.
My middle name is Jonathan Thomas John, and my father's real name is John Donald. So the John is
John's in your family.
Yeah, I don't know why everybody call my father Don. Why do they do that? They call him.
I don't know. That's weird. He's what with the middle name. Huh?
Yeah.
We
some countries don't have middle names.
Yes, and some countries in Latin America use the mother's maiden name also after them.
So why do we have a middle name? Like
why'd you? I just made a point. You just went into something else.
Well, no, you went off my point.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Stand corrected. Okay, so why do we have middle names? I don't know. That's a great question.
Just you never really use it. Like it doesn't differentiate. There's no other Tom. Well, lots of Tom Smiths.
Lots of Tom Smiths. Yeah. Lots of Thomas Augustus Smith. And one Thomas Augustus Skywalker Smith. But what we do have is we have like confirmation names if you're Catholic, which I don't know if you had that, which is weird. It's like, here's another name. You got to pick a name for your confirmation, which is just weird.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, there you go. But I didn't know Oh, there you go. Robbie Carr, shout out.
I didn't know that.
But right, well,
Do I put a little accent on it?
you're doing an impression of yourself.
I didn't know that.
No,
I don't do that.
It's more genuine.
Oh, it is. So I don't.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Much more
Well,
genuine.
it's like I've learned something new, right? So I'm kind of surprised because I think I know everything.
100. You nailed it. I mean, bullseye right there, Tom.
I didn't know that. I think I'm kind of outraged that I didn't know it.
No, I think you're excited that you didn't know. You're
excited.
learning. You're
Okay.
gaining knowledge, and
Yeah.
you're.
That's true. That's true. I'm growing.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's great. You're like, I just learned something. I downloaded some new information.
Okay, good point. I like it.
So there you go.
I like it.
So so John is a name in your family.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you gave your boys names. And your ex-wife was like, whatever, you just named
I
them.
don't think I gave her a choice in that.
I'm not surprised.
Well, they're boys, so yeah.
So Shane and Cody, those are definitely like cowboy names.
So Shane, the old movie,
Shane, come back, Shane.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
The only problem is I put a Y in Shane's name, and there's no Y in the
Okay.
movie, and he didn't like that. It's okay now because everybody just computers and everything. What's inserted, but everybody would always ask him, or they'd spell it wrong, and they'd just spell about the Y, and he had to correct them all the time.
Okay.
Just got to do it the right way.
And Cody.
Cody Hall. So Hall was my mother's maiden name.
Okay.
So Cody Hall. Cody was just a general Western name.
Yeah, it kind of is. Well, Cody's a town, and was it Wyoming?
Cody, Wyoming. That's right.
And your wife had no say. She's like, whatever you want to do, go ahead.
You know what? Like a lot of things with my marriages, I really can't remember how things like I famously, and I say famously, never proposed to either one of my wives to get married. And people will ask, you will ask,
Yeah, how?
how did you?
How'd you pull that?
I don't know. Honestly, I really don't remember why. We've been living together in both cases, and then it was just all of a sudden we said, okay, I guess we're going to get married, and it wasn't too romantic.
But you know what? I have to say I did the same thing with Christine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we didn't. It was a very quick romance, and then
But you'd known each other.
yeah, we know each other. But then she was very quickly pregnant, so we're like, all right, so let's just go get married. So we did. She gave birth to Juliana Glosely Smith, who that's a name from an Icelandic song.
Oh,
Her middle name, because we knew their names were going to be
say that
Smith.
again one more time.
Juliana Glosely Smith. It means glowing like the sun.
Oh.
And because we knew the last name was going to be Smith, it's going to be boring. So
Yeah.
we gave him cool middle names, you know.
Right.
My middle daughter Molly, she's named after my mother, Patricia, so Molly Patricia. And then Thomas is Thomas Augustus Skywalker. So that was Christine. Christine, I was like, oh, no. She's like, no, we're doing this.
That's cool.
And my friend Boris Boban was like, if you don't do this, I'm going to kick your ass. I'm like, all right, fine.
That's cool. That's a good idea. Yeah.
So yeah,
Something different like that. Yeah.
but it's not Western. But again, it's. And Christine had to say, I had trouble with we both had trouble with Molly's name. This is so cool because I think you like this story, Tom. Maybe if you can listen through it, maybe you like it. So Molly was born, and we had no idea what her name was going to be. We had a few names that we were tossing around, Molly being one of them. But we left after they kick you out of the hospital after 48 hours, right? You take your baby and go. So Christine's like, go home, get some sleep. We'll figure it out tomorrow. I'm walking to the car in the parking lot at Hackensack Hospital. I said, give me a sign. I don't even know who I said it to. Just give me a sign. We got to get this name, you know? I'm going in the car, and on the ground, there's a little card, like a baseball card, but it's a Thomas the Tank Engine card. Right. And I'm like, what is that? So I flip it over, and it's Molly. The Molly, the train engine. So I was like, holy shit, that's never in my life happened to me. That was one time when I said, give me a sign, and I got a sign, and that's her name. And she has the card framed in her room. She's had it for 15 years now. Happy birthday, Molly.
That's a good story.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, good story. I'm trying to think how
And I appreciate you listening and commenting. Thank you.
patiently.
Well, listen, that was 2 minutes, and that's a long time for you. You know, it's a lot of spotlight hogging by me.
I was on the phone the other day for 2 hours with this wonderful young woman, and I remember looking at the clock like, I'll never get that 2 hours back.
You'll never get that 2 minutes back. You know, it's funny. It's funny. We've had a couple shows now with multiple guests, and then you guys are talking, and I'll ask a question, and I'll say, so do you guys think, and you jump right in and answer.
Do I really? Oh, no, that's okay. So I remember you gave me a hard time about that because I'm thinking, well, you're asking the question in general, so I have to insert my opinion. Yeah.
But you're the host.
Oh God.
So it was Dave Maloney and James Patrick.
That's right too. Yeah.
Like, so do you guys think, you're like, well, I'm like, well, Tom, you're on the show. It's they're the guests.
Isn't it true? Oh, it is funny because I went to Savannah Tuesday for the Rangers. A lot of.
Oh yeah, big with the big whales there, right?
Yeah, Henry Glenkos is there too. And man, can I talk now? I find myself, it amazes me because I wasn't always like that. Like when I first turned pro, whatever, people said they saw me sitting in the corner someplace and I wasn't talking to anybody. Wow. People told me they were intimidated.
Really?
Yeah, because I was just shy and nervous. I was.
Back then?
Yeah, when I first turned pro.
Because you were probably like the weirdo farm kid kind of.
Yeah, well,
tough guy.
I was wearing the cowboy hat,
right.
So yeah.
I don't want to talk to this psychopath.
Yeah. But even at college, I really wasn't a big talker. Like it was just, I told you the story about
the game of speech and everyone got scored on, right?
Huge. Yeah, that was a huge moment in my life. I talk like in short little bursts or whatever, but I wouldn't make a speech like that.
So how'd you go from that to now you're doing a podcast? It's got 7 episodes. Now you're doing,
Mr. Berard, look at this.
and
Look at
speaking
this.
of talking,
Yeah.
What's happening?
What's going on? How are you?
Look,
Can you hear me all right?
Yep, we're good. We're good.
Sorry.
I surprised you.
Laptop at the office. I didn't. I thought I could shoot the phone.
Oh, no problem.
this looks great. This
Yeah.
is perfect.
I told Tom I was pleasantly surprised as you wanted to do this. I know you don't like talking about yourself too much.
Not at all. Stuff.
It works out because you love talking about
Oh, yeah.
Tom.
Yeah, Brian, I talk so much now, it's unbelievable. I can't keep my mouth shut now. I wasn't always like that. Was I like that all the time? I don't think so. So,
Maybe sometimes.
yeah, it's true. Yeah, you were talking all the time. This guy's a stud.
Complaining all the time. That's all.
Yeah, you were. This guy's a stud too. He gets some women sometimes. Remember the girl you had? Was she a stripper from Vegas?
No, hold on. We're recording, so we got to. Well, I'll take this out.
What?
Well,
We can't talk about strippers.
I wasn't into no strippers. That's for
What? She wasn't a stripper?
No, cocktail.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
I wasn't.
That's right.
who are often way better looking than the strippers.
Oh, he does well with the women. Oh God.
So are we gonna start? We're gonna start.
Yeah,
the show?
let's go. So Tom's gonna do a little intro, and then we'll get rolling.
All right, here we go.
Sounds good.
Tom, we got a big one today. We got a first overall draft pick, an American superstar defenseman, hockey player, and shockingly someone who actually hired you and didn't fire you as their agent. We have Bryan Berard on the show today.
Yeah, we finally ran out of teams, so we didn't have to fire him. We just ran out of teams to play with.
In case.
Brian, what happened? Was
His fault.
Yeah.
Brian, was there nobody else available as an agent then?
Well, actually, I'll tell the story. I'll jump in there. So Pam Berard, his mother, his wonderful mother, who we just lost, about 2 months ago, 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah, we lost her in March. So,
She-
Sorry to hear that.
She was a great person. She treated me face. But to get started with, to get inside the family, the Berard family, you had to do things a certain way. So I sent out a letter, and I misspelled Brian's name. I spelled it with an I instead of a Y. And Pam made sure she told me, she says, my son's name is with a Y. That was it. So you actually, first went with another agent, and then he got in trouble or something, didn't he?
yeah, I think it was actually Cam Neely's agent, Mark Peroni, I believe.
Oh, that's right.
That's correct name, if I remember correctly. Yeah, because it was all the Detroit Junior Wings there.
That's right.
Whole, saying I was going to go to college, and then we ended up playing in the OHL.
Right.
So I think that's really, to be honest with you, I think that's the only reason why I went with Lays, because he was there in Detroit. No,
I was closest. I was the closest there.
I was actually you with IMV with Mike Barnett. Then.
Yeah,
Eddie
that's
Meal,
right.
Eddie Meal. So
Eddie Meal. Yeah, Potato Head. Eddie Meal, Potato Head.
Don't stop.
That's what we called him. He hates it too.
Oh, really?
Oh, he would get like he got mad or tired or excited or whatever. His face would turn all red. So we looked like a potato, just a bully. Yeah, was
I was lucky enough because that was when for the OHL, Detroit was playing out of the Joe Louis.
Yeah,
that was a good time. Detroit Junior Red Wings there, played out of the Joe. We had a pretty good team as well, so it was fun.
That's what too. Was it Todd Harvey? He was there. What day was he?
Todd Harvey, Jamie Allison. We didn't really talented team, but we were able to win the OHL and play in the Memorial Cup that year. And that we played against Kamloops. They were stacked. They had Ginla, Shane Doan.
That's right.
Some good players.
Right. Who was your buddy there too? I can't remember his name. I just saw him recently at a charity game too. You were pretty close to him. He's another U.S. born player too.
Haggerty.
Yes, I saw him.
Yeah, he was a sniper in junior for sure. Yeah. He had a pretty good career in the Myers, but he didn't really get a good shot or a good look in the NHL at all.
Right. I think he got stung by a bee. He's allergic to bees.
Here we go.
Recently. Put on some tonnage.
You're such a son.
He's got 3 boys playing hockey.
Yeah, and he's in the financial world, right? Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, he lives. I think in Portchester, Rye, right up there.
Oh, is that where he is? Oh, okay.
Yeah, yep. Because he's from Rye. New York. So
That's right. That's right too. So Bryan Berard, I know this stuff, but we got to talk about it. He was born and raised in Woonsocket, Rhode Island, to Pam and Wally Berard.
That is correct. I got my pops living with me now as well too, because obviously we lost my mom in March. So my dad's he's got a place down at the beach, and in the winter times he's staying with myself. I'm the oldest of. My mom's the oldest of 4, so I get 3 siblings, and I got a half brother, half older sister as well.
That's right. That's right too. Yeah, big crew. Man, and the Berards stick up for each other too. We were at some rink sometime for some tournament, and I can't remember what happened. And it was almost a brawl, like the Berards against everybody else.
Nice.
So, I'll tell stories like Wally, great man, but in his younger days, he got the tats and everything. He used to ride his motorcycle into the bar.
Oh, nice.
Right.
Yeah, he's known as being a pretty tough guy. That's for sure.
Yeah. But what a sweetheart. Yeah.
I'll tell a quick story about the old hockey night in Boston here in New England was pretty big. And we actually got in a big brawl. Me and a player, teammate I grew up with, Ryan Murphy, little Irishman from Burrville, Rhode Island. But we fought about, I would say about 8 guys, 4 adults and 4 kids. We had got our asses kicked. And if it wasn't for my mother was jumping in, saving a bunch of us. I think after the brawl lasted like 10 minutes, we got our asses kicked. And about 5 guys after the brawl had their shirts completely torn off, and you could just see the nails because my mom was trying to basically jump in and try to help us from getting our ass.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm telling you, like, I mean, your mother is a fantastic person. If you're on her side, she will die for you. But if you're on the other side, man, you're in trouble. She was famous too at weddings and stuff. She would get up on the table and start dancing.
Awesome.
Yes, and everybody would know that she was going to dance. So you have about 10 guys run over to the table to make sure they're holding on the table.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and that was, I think she did it at was it Brucey or Greg's wedding? Your brothers. I can't remember which one it was. I brought my second.
Greg. Yeah, she was definitely feisty one for sure.
Yeah, but what a sweetheart too, though, right? Like you said, like the things you got at the funeral, I thought was fantastic. Where particularly Greg got up and spoke a lot, and talked about her and how she was, what she meant. Like I said, she was a great woman. So real cool.
She battled cancer for 7 years, colon cancer. She put up a hell of a fight. But she, I mean, even for the funeral, she had everything planned. I mean, I think it's got to be tough when you know you had terminal cancer. But she made it easy for but she made it. She had everything planned for herself. So it was a nice day to remember. Obviously, it's tough to go through that. But
right. And she was a battler too. Didn't the doctors recommend she get some surgery? She says, "Nope, I'm not doing it."
Yeah, she didn't want to. She fought it for 7 years. It was definitely a tough battle, and towards the end, she was suffering. So she's definitely better now for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, she's a great woman. She had a great life. Yeah. Okay, so growing up as a kid, were you a pretty good player right away when you started?
Not really. I mean, I was a big solid defense. I was actually kind of chubby. They kind of called me they put me back on D and called me Rock. Really until about maybe Squirts Pee-wees where my skating started to kind of, I would say, advance more than most players at that age, and just kind of kept going. So I kind of became an offensive defenseman. Played 1 year up front too. A coach threw me up, I think it was like squirt, second year score or something, threw me up at forward. So I think it helped me develop a little bit of offensive skills and kind of a knack from the offensive zone. And then really just kind of kept progressing. Got lucky, went to Mount St. Charles here, and Woonsocket was a big Catholic school, big hockey powerhouse back in the day. And then obviously, left school after my junior year, went up and played in the OHL for 2 years.
Yeah. And you were pretty, I met you at 16 years old, and you were pretty driven too. Like you wanted to be the first overall pick in the draft back then too, right?
Absolutely. I mean, being born here in Rhode Island and stuff, I was made the U.S., the U.S. select camp, select 16. So going up there and played against guys like Redden and Gindler, all guys my age that were kind of, highly, you're going to play junior and kind of highly, I guess, prospected and looked at and scouted. So, I was competitive. I knew I could play with those guys and play just as well or even better. So to go first overall, I can't speak here. To go first overall meant a lot for me.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
So we had Terry Ryan recently on our podcast, who's done the Mr. Movie Star now, and we tell a story. So we're at the All-Star game, and Brian's parents are sitting with Terry Ryan.
The OHL All-Star game.
Yes, it was. What was it? Oh no, it was a whole.
It was
CHL. Yeah,
I see. Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So Terry Ryan was out in wherever it was, Tri-Cities, and again, so we represented Terry Ryan and also Brian, and so we all were sitting together.
All the
And
family.
all of a sudden, these two guys get to fight out, and it was not like a wrestling fight too. They were throwing bombs at each other. Like Brian was tough, Terry Ryan was tough kid too, and we're sitting.
Yeah, I'm actually still thankful I fought him early on because he became a big.
Yeah.
He kicked my ass down the line. He would have said me pretty good. He became.
But you were a pretty good fighter too, right? I mean, you fought. Who was it? Primo? You fought the one Wayne Primo?
Well, Primo, he got my ass kicked too. I fought Danico was my first NHL fight.
Oh wow.
Right. Yeah.
Few guys, I always used to try to fight the tough guys because when I got beat, kind of I looked better than losing to the guys and stuff. I actually had to fight Lankow too. Was a client, Damon Lankow. I think he was a lefty as well. I ended up fighting him as well.
Yeah, he's a tough little guy too. He's tough.
Yeah, he was a little guy, but he definitely throws lefty.
So coming up then as a kid, like at what point did you really? We talked about the competitiveness and want to be the first overall pick in the draft. What point did you really think, man, I can play? Not only can I play in the NHL, but I'm going to be a pretty good player. I've got at least a shot of being that.
To be honest with you, I think playing those select camps, 16 and 17, I had a pretty good idea that I could actually make a career out of this. And I don't think I realized how, I don't want to say, how do I say this? I don't really like talking about myself. I didn't kind of realize how good I was until that first year of junior.
Right.
Towards the end of the end of the year there, playing against guys, in Guelph, like Jeff O'Neill and Todd Bertuzzi, and kind of being able to, in Sudbury, playing against some big players that could kind of control the game at 17, being an offensive defenseman, and playing with Jamie Allison helped as well. I mean, he's a big, kind of had my back. He's a big, tough guy. He's a stay-at-home defenseman.
Yep.
I just didn't really realize how good I was. I mean, it's tough for me to say that. Just my skating ability and my hockey IQ and my vision, I thought was pretty elite.
Yeah, your skating too. You had that like powerful stride too. I remember watching. Yeah.
Brian, who was your guy growing up? Were you a Ray Bork guy or Brian Leach guy?
I was more of a Leach or Chelios guy, for sure. I wasn't a huge Bruins fan. I actually grew up a Mario Lemieux fan. I grew up a Penguins fan, big fan of Mario Lemieux. And defense, definitely Leach. Lidstrom a little bit. I loved watching. Definitely Chelios. Because I did. I mean, I once in a while, if you piss me off, I can get a little nasty.
Oh yeah.
But it kind of had to take me to get a little upset. So I like Chelios's game that way as well. But yeah, Brian Leach. I mean, he's still to me, he's one of the the more smooth guys that I've ever seen play. I mean, now we watch these young kids at McCarr now, and I mean, these guys that Carlson and stuff, they're unbelievable to watch.
Yeah, I know the skating. Yeah. So what you went to Memorial Cup your last year, junior?
No, that was my first year.
Oh, okay.
That year we drafted first overall. Yes, we played. We played Brandon, had Brian McCabe and Wade Redden. And then Camels destroyed us, but they had Ginla, Doan, Tucker, Jason Strudwick. They had that power. My second year junior. That team was unbelievable.
And what game did you hurt? You could have it Charlie horse or something, didn't you?
Yeah, I got hurt in the semifinals against Brandon. I took a knee, so really could hardly play in the finals. But we were in Kamloops. They probably would not do that today. But my leg was completely blown up, so they were kind of sticking needles in me before the game, trying to drain the blood out of my side to try to make it a little easier so I could skate.
He could barely skate too. He's out there battling his rear end off, but he couldn't. And not your fault. You just skate because it was so bad. I remember watching that game. Like there's just no way.
They shot me up pretty good. I literally had no power. I couldn't even skate.
Yeah, I know. But you stayed out there through the whole game, and especially when you're getting blown out too, you still kept going out there. So I actually think that not that you did it for this reason, but the scouts saw that too. They go, man, this kid's not only talented, but he's tough too.
Battler.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we had to, Coach Paul Maurice too. Was on great with Mo there as well. And then I was lucky enough to have Pete DeBoer as well. So two good coaches. 2 years at junior. So it was definitely a great experience.
Right. So then they go first overall in the draft to the Ottawa Senators.
See, at what point do you know? Okay, what do you guys know? This is happening. He's going first.
Well, we didn't really know for sure. I don't think. I think we felt like he was going to go first, but there's a little bit of a decision between Wade Redden and Brian. But I think probably a couple of days before we knew for sure that he was going to get taken. Yeah,
they kind of held it. They held it in. I mean, we kind of. I think on draft day, I kind of think we kind of had a pretty good idea that we were going to go first overall. Then I think at the draft, the way the cameras were set up I think you're the one that said, he's going first overall. He's going first overall.
Remember Randy Sexton, the general manager, came to your house in Rhode Island, and I was there. Well, like he wanted to interview. Remember that?
Yeah, I think he's the only one. He's the only one that ended up coming to the house in Rhode Island, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. You had lots of interviews, but he was the only one. I remember he said to me too in front of everybody. He says, "Well, Tom, you played with Wayne Gretzky, because he was talking about preparation and he's saying Wayne would always eat properly." And I remember I didn't say it, but I was going to say to him, well, because I remember a preseason game, Wayne Gretzky's eating a cheeseburger before the game. So, and I didn't want to embarrass him in front of everybody. I was thinking, well, that's just not the way it is.
Yeah, times have changed. That's for sure. Yeah, that I mean, I think we got a little bit. I think both me and Tom got a little bit of a bad rap with the situation there in Ottawa, but that organization was a mess. That's for sure. I still remember going there. It was kind of an eye opener too, and being as competitive as it was. I wanted to play in the NHL as an 18-year-old for sure.
Yeah.
I thought I could have. I mean, I think Tom did as well.
Yep,
I think
totally.
we pretty much definitely could have played, and just the way they kind of handled it in that organization was they weren't ready for it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Remember who they drafted first overall before, and they put him in a dress or something.
What? That's Alexander Dig, I think.
Yeah.
Dig, they had Radek Bonk, they had Yash in there. They had some good young players, but I remember walking into the locker room. The locker room was just a mess.
Yeah.
And then I think something happened with the contracts and stuff. I don't think they were in trouble financially as well. So I remember, I think like 7 days in, we were like, let's get out of here.
Yeah, totally. I remember we were on the phone and all this stuff was going on, and we finally both just said almost at the same time, listen, you're out of there. Really? So just so people understand, when you're drafted, you really don't belong to that team. Your NHL rights belong to that team. But if you don't sign your contract, you don't have to do what they want. But typically, first overall pick in the draft will stay there, but we made the decision, and we didn't go public with it either, but we asked for a trade. And so everybody speculated that's what was going on anyways. But I thought we handled it pretty well as far as being classy. We didn't badmouth our.
Yeah, well, I think because I was an American kid, I got a bad rap, or we got a bad rap for saying that I didn't want to play in Canada. And that was totally not true. I mean, I played in the OHL, and then, I mean, probably still today, my best team that I played for and had the most fun was in Toronto. Yeah. For being a Leafs, and the Leafs fan and stuff. So I think they got a bad rap early on that I was a spoiled kid that didn't want to play in Canada, because that was all came out pretty close after Lindros made that deal with.
Yeah, that's right.
Big with Quebec. So I think so we got a little bit of a bad rap.
Right. And then you get drafted by the great Mike Milbury. Or you get traded.
Yeah,
traded.
Traded. Yeah, Milbury trade. It's like a redheaded stepchild with Milbury. I mean, that's the love-hate relationship. But it was just, some of the stuff, the stories that, that come out of that locker room were amazing. But he liked me because I would stand up for myself and my teammates. But I know, even my rookie year was things I really shouldn't have, saying to a coach or general manager, but just that, the older guys we had, great guys. I mean, we had guys like Rich Pilon and Mick Bakota and Derek King, but, they were on their last legs of their career too. And really, they didn't really have any clout to say anything to Milbury. And I can tell you guys a quick story, but at the end of the year, obviously we're a young team. We don't make the playoffs. And we're all at the locker room packing up our gear, and there's no hockey bags. There's like hefty bags in front of the stalls.
Right. I didn't know that.
We're like, so I go to Joe McMahon, who was equipment manager at the time, and he's like, yeah, Milbury said you guys can't take your hockey bags home. And I'm like, are you effing kidding me? I'm like, this is a joke. What are you, NHL? We can't take our hockey bags? And I literally went barging upstairs, and it was time to the Nassau Coliseum, your office. We're in the Coliseum, so I went right into his office, and he's just kind of chuckled at me. He's like, because I was waiting for somebody to come up, and I didn't think it was going to be you. He's like, of course you guys can take your hockey bags home. You just kind of, you would do all things like the tests like that, just to kind of bust balls and at the same time. And we ended up getting along good, but, and he still, when he traded me that day, it's still, I got wind of it. Another quick story. I was in Montreal. We were playing in Montreal. I was actually hurt. I was out with an abductor strain, and I got a call from the Sherwood rep saying that I got traded to Toronto. And at that time, I was kind of shocked. I was like, no way, Milbury was going to trade me. And when I get back to the hotel, quick, and I forget if it was Bill Stewart or a couple of the assistant coaches were in the lobby. You're like, you better hurry up and get up to Milbury's room because he's about to trade you. So when I got up there, I knocked on his door, and he opened the door. I said, it's too late. You're traded to Toronto. So I was like, what? And then I was kind of shocked, but to be honest, it was probably the best thing that could happen to me. Obviously, I got hurt with the eye,
but remember too, Bryan won Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, 2 years before that.
Right. So to be traded, but that was Milbury, right? Is this, like you said, you're probably lucky you did get traded.
Traded Mike, trading everybody.
Yeah. Remember what time? There was one time, I can't remember. It must have been like second year or something like that. I was on the phone with Milbury, and he says to me, talking about you, he says, I'm going to break him. And I said, break him? What do you want to break him for? So I said, okay, listen, we're not going to talk about each other behind each other's backs. Let's get a meeting, the three of us together. So we met at the hotel right by the Coliseum. And I said to Bryan, and Bryan already knew that this conversation had happened. And I said, Bryan, I said to Milbury, I think, so why do you want to break Bryan? And he denied saying it. Like,
come on.
That's the kind of guy he was, But like I said, I do think a lot of it was like acting the tough guy. Like, Bryan would stand up to him, so he would do as much.
Yeah, I think to be honest, to look back to, I think he was going through a hard time in his life as well. Yeah. because some of the guys he traded, you look at our defense, it was myself, McCabe, Eric Brewer, Scott LaChance. He would alarm go net. We had Big Chara. Yeah. It was just the defense alone. We had top six guys that could have played pretty much anywhere and could have been there for a long time. So I'm sure he looks back at it and regrets it as well, I would think.
Who'd you get traded for from Toronto?
Potvin. He was so sick of Tommy Salo is basically what he said to me. He's like, I'm so sick of our goaltending. I needed to get a real goaltender, a proven goaltender in here. So he's like, I had to use your bait to get Potvin.
Right. So it was at the end of your first contract that we had a holdout, right? With Toronto? You set out the
yeah, that was the end of the year because we went into Toronto, and that was actually the closing. It was awesome because of the closing of the Garden.
Yeah.
The opening of the brand new Air Canada Center at the time. We had a really good team. We lost in the Eastern Conference Finals at Buffalo. Right. Against Hasek, but that was a pretty good run we had, and then we opened up a new building as well. So we had a young team.
I remember that night too when they closed down the Garden, and we went. Remember they put the boards on the ice, and they opened up a couple of bars down, and we stayed there till like 3 or 4 in the morning drinking.
Maybe Toronto was fun. That I was young. I was probably 22 or so.
Yeah.
And, single guy living in Toronto was fun.
You were living the life there. I came to spend a couple of nights with you.
Do tell.
Oh, well, like I told before, and I mean, if I say this properly, Brian has no problem meeting young ladies, and they like him quite a bit. So going to Toronto, he's a Maple Leaf, and he's there, and there's all these whipping around. So it's entertaining.
Did the wingman pick up any scraps though?
You couldn't help it. Yeah, you couldn't help it. If you didn't pick up somebody, it's somewhere else.
I just kind of hide in the weeds, and then I come in at the end. But Tom's the talker.
Oh yeah,
pretty much. Another quick little story is funny because I mean, obviously, I was single when I was in Toronto as well, so know a lot of the guys that the Hockey Hall of Fame and stuff, and I forget the guy's name that kind of I believe he still takes care of the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, Pritchard, Andy Pritchard, Phil Pritchard.
Yeah,
Phil
I think
Pritchard.
so anyway, so a buddy of ours, Mark Eaton, won a Stanley Cup in Pittsburgh, and then we had a little party here in Newport. And my younger brother ran into went to the party, went to the cup, and he said he grabbed my brother and said, "Listen," he goes, "I don't know what you're bringing. Your brother's not really that good looking or whatever, but he does really, really well."
It is.
But it's on my looks. I say I smell like cookies.
Oh, honest to God, it's amazing. Like he'll sit there in the corner, and I'm working hard all night long, and he's sitting there in the corner. He ends up bringing some gorgeous girl home. Yeah, always something going on.
What do you bring home?
Oh, we bring something home, but I had to work 10 times as hard as he did. Non-stop talking, yeah. A lot of fun. Toronto was fun, yeah. For me growing up around that area too, going back in Toronto and you're playing there, and everywhere you go, Toronto Maple Leaf, when they go someplace.
So Brian, your agent was just like crashing on your couch, just hanging out there?
Oh no, he had more room for me.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Nice spot too. Nice. Yeah, nice.
Toronto was nice. That was a good, really nice place to play, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yes. We met a few famous people too. Belinda Stronach, remember her?
Yeah, she was good, Belinda. She was great, and she boosted a tie as well, which is probably a little bit of a mistake on Ty's part.
So Belinda Stronach, a very wealthy family, very famous, beautiful woman, and Brian introduced to Ty Domi to her. Remember Ty Domi later on tried to claim that he knew her first? Remember that?
Ty's still a great friend. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I think that was during a lockout. Is pretty much when I met her. I was actually out at the Santa Anita. I was at the one of the big horse races, right. And I had security come up to me and say that I was wanted upstairs. And I believe her dad still owns that track. He owns a bunch of horse tracks in the U.S. I think the big auto parts company, Magna Auto Parts, I believe. But anyway, I said that I was wanted upstairs. I was with a bunch of buddies from Rhode Island. I was like the degenerate gamblers out in the midfield. I had like my shirt off and shorts on at the big horse race, and we got called up, and that's how I met her, and then ended up hanging out with her. I mean, I'll even say she was a cougar for me. I was young. Yeah. So that's pretty much how that we had a little bit of fun. And that was
she's got like that classy older lady, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. We were staying in L.A. too. I was with a buddy in L.A. We were just kind of bouncing around and having some fun, and then hitting the horse races during the day. Saturday, Sunday.
Brian's a good gambler too. He'll go to Vegas and spend like 12 hours, 24 hours at the gambling table there.
Yeah, it used to be for sure. That's I wish I could have a lot of that money back, but it was fun. Definitely. The Jets. I still like playing a little bit. I like gambling on football and things like that as well. It's fun.
All right. So was it your third season that you got hit in the eye? Third or fourth season? When was that?
Yeah, that was right at the end of the regular season. It was in March. Was it March 11th, 2000? It was right at the end there. I took a stick in Ottawa. Marian Hossa kind of a little bit of a careless stick that in front of the net and kind of hit me right in the eye.
Yeah, I remember watching on TV too, and your parents were watching at home, obviously. And there's a lot of times where guys get hit up in the face like that, but your eye's kind of protected.
Sure, you're wearing a shield, right?
Did you have the shield?
I had no shield.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but it was one of those ones who probably still would have hit him because it went kind of up under his face. And again, you think, okay, well, he's probably going to get hurt, he's going to get stitches. And then your parents called me, and I guess they found out how bad the damage was, so we all flew into Toronto the next day.
Yeah, it was one of those. It was kind of like a rupture cut more than anything. The eye, unfortunately, I wasn't. I guess my body wasn't kind of prepared or whatever, so I didn't close my eyeball. So the way the stick hit me, it hit me pretty hard, so my eyeball kind of ruptured. Right. And right away, I knew I was in trouble because it went pretty much pitch black. And then the story, it was tough. because I knew I was in trouble, and then the doctors thought it was just the blood. And then obviously I get back, and it wasn't much pain. It was just I knew I was in trouble. My eye pretty much I couldn't see. And then we're sitting in the back of the room, get back to the dressing room, and obviously the doctors come in and they spray eye wash in it, and right away I could tell by the doctors' faces, and actually the guys that were healthy scratches, I think Gary Volk and Big Chris McAllister were behind them, and I could see their faces, and I knew I was in trouble. And the doctor's like, we got to get him out of here. And then it even gets worse from there. We get to the first hospital, and the same thing. I'm still in like I wore a girdle at the time and stuff. I'm still like a no shirt on girdle, and the doctors come in and same thing. They use the eye wash, and the first doctor's like, we can't do that here. And I'm like, what do you mean you can't do that here? So I knew right away that I was pretty much the eye was in bad shape, and that's the last time I remember kind of getting up and I don't say almost fainting. I was kind of like, I think I got sick, and then I remember they gave me a shot in the ass, and the next thing I know, I woke up in the morning. I think it was about an 8-hour surgery. To save that eye, and I think it ruptured an artery or two as well. So it was a big surgery. Yeah, it was tough.
I remember they got back to Toronto too. Brian, you tried to walk through a door, it just had no depth perception at all.
Oh wow,
yeah, that was interesting times.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. I mean, a freak accident. That's where it was, and again, like Tom said, the eye's pretty protected. So, I mean, it's pretty crazy that it was that severe of an injury.
Right. So Brian, you're on the table now. You wake up, and at what point are you saying, because we had Grant Marshall on who broke his neck when he was 16. And he's like, no, I'm going to play. I'm going to play again. When does that kick in for you? Is it right away? Is it a few days later?
I thought I thought I was done, to be honest with you. Obviously, woke up in the morning and Brent Smith, one of the trainers for the Leafs, was awesome. He stayed with me overnight and stuff. And I think there was a snowstorm going on, so my parents couldn't get there till like midday the next day. Yeah. And when I woke up, I'm like, I want to see the doctors. I want to know what's going on. And they're like, oh, wait, let's wait till your parents get here. I'm like, 20, I think it was 23. I'm like, 23 years old. I want to see the doctors. And the doctors came in and they took the bandage off, and then they're like, you can have no sight, all this kind of stuff. We had to basically save your eye. And then when the doctors put a flashlight on, I actually saw the light. So they were kind of like, holy shit, So then I was thinking, oh, maybe it is going to come back. But as days went on, the light got less and less. And basically it was just the blood that was sitting in my eyeball that did all the damage to the retina. Basically just ruined my vision completely. So that's pretty much, when I came back, I pretty much played with one eye. I mean, it's kind of, basically, it catches light and my brain just doesn't use it when my left eye's open. Sometimes I almost wish, I say this a lot of times, because if my brain picks it up a little bit, it kind of screws me up a little bit. My depth perception actually is gone, but my equilibrium as well. It probably would have been better off if they put a glass eye in, to be honest.
Right. So they had a second surgery too, or a couple of surgeries, right? With Stanley Chang.
Yeah, I think I ended up having like 6, because Dr. Stanley Chang was great. I mean, he tried to get as much vision back as possible because he knew I wanted to play. At that time, there was a league limit. I think it was 2,400 to see out of it. So they knew I had to get to that to be able to play. At the same time, I don't know if you remember this, but that Casey Martin was playing in golf, and it was like the handicap rule, the golf thing. So I remember I got contacted by a lot of lawyers and said, listen, they cannot deny you work. So if you want to play back in the league, they cannot deny you from playing. So they basically, a lot of lawyers were like, let the NHL try and we'll sue them. So I think the NHL got wind of that and really kind of was very lenient on my eye exam to if I could be able to come back and play, I could play.
All right. Remember our little system for the eye exams?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they gave me a contact lens that said that basically got me to that 2,400, which was complete because I didn't wear that contact lens while I played. It was just a hard contact lens that kind of irritated my eye, and it was just basically I had to learn to play with, get back in the league and play with one eye.
See, that was the amazing part to me because I saw you the couple of days after when you couldn't walk through the doorway, and all of a sudden, and again, I really didn't think you were going to play anymore. And I remember saying to you, if you remember this night, I said, Brian, why don't you come work with me in the agent business? And it's the first time I think you really said to me, no, I'm going to play again.
Awesome.
And at first, the question was, Brian, like, and I don't think maybe I said this to you, but in my mind, I'm thinking, well, Brian, you got one eye. How are you going to play? But
I probably should have. I mean, it probably financially wasn't the best decision. I probably should have. I mean, I came back and then, it took me a couple of years to adapt, and then I started putting up some decent offensive numbers, but still definitely wasn't the same player I ever was.
Yeah. And I think it was frustrating for you too, right? Because you knew how good you could be, and you just couldn't get back. I mean, you still were a dominant player, but you just couldn't get back to what you're ultimately were going to be. So,
well, Brian came back and played 300-plus games in the NHL, which is an incredible comeback story, obviously.
Remember practice one time with the Rangers, and you were going around the boards, and it wasn't because of the eye. Maybe we went flying into the boards or something like that. Didn't Brian Leach say something to you, like go the other way?
Well, Leach was on the bench because I kept pitching. I never was a visor fan, and I wore the visor. When I put the visor back on, I put the visor obviously close to my face to protect my good eye, and it just was sitting on the bench, and Leach goes, he's like, I got an idea for you. Why don't you just shave down your nose a little bit more? And is
that what it was? Okay.
Yeah, why don't you just shave that up and go get your nose done? Have your nose shaved down a little bit and be able to see a little bit more. That was kind of fun. And Leach And anybody knows Leach, he's a quiet guy, he doesn't say much.
Yeah.
So when he said that, the whole bench just started dying laughing. So it was pretty funny.
Yeah, we've done a few events together. I always try to give him a hard time, but he sings me back pretty good. Yeah, he's got a good sense of humor.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially when he's drinking his Amstel Lights. It's not because you guys. He's one of the best, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's good. He's good. So yeah, come back, play 1 year. And remember we did a contract. Typically back in those days, you do like maybe a 2-year contract with an option year. So it's the team's option. But we did the reverse. We did a 1-year contract with a 3-year option. So his theory was to come back, see how he would do. Then if the Rangers didn't want to pick up his contract again, he could walk away, be a free agent, or they had to pick up the 3-year option.
Gotcha.
So you did well too. It's just I think
Bryan played all 82 games that year.
yeah, and I think more it was
I definitely. I mean, that first year back, I mean, I was definitely not even close.
Yes,
I only had 20-something points or something. I think I played all 82 games, but I wasn't even close. I was just kind of like feeling myself around, to be honest with you. And then obviously I went signed with Boston, and then started to kind of get. Then that year, I think I put up 10 goals and maybe close to 40 points. And then being the good old Bruins, they did the whole bullshit with the arbitration.
Yeah.
And then I ended up going to Chicago, and then Chicago, I think I put up almost a point a game. I believe it was like 50-something games. I think I had
47 points.
Yeah. So that's
goals.
so I started to put some good numbers up, and then unfortunately I go to Columbus, sign a 2-year deal with good old Doug McLean, who was great to me. And really, I was putting up really good numbers there, and then I blew out the back. So that was pretty much my career right there.
That's right in front. And then I think the Islanders were talking a little bit about coming back there too, weren't they at one point? Didn't we talk?
Yeah, I went to the Islanders. That's when good old Teddy Nolan was there, and he was. I mean, Ted's a good guy and stuff, but for me as a coach and stuff like that, everything he couldn't see me without the one eye. Everything was about kept blaming everything on my eye and all that kind of stuff, which was kind of bullshit because I was putting up numbers and come back from the back and basically finished out with my good buddy Ken Hitchcock, who I can't stand. He's one of the biggest phonies in the league ever, and I have no problem saying that. He never played a sport in his life. That coach is a phony. But then I did Ted Nolan, and basically that was it. I went to Russia for a year and then pretty much retired.
Yeah. We had Ken Hitchcock on the show, and because I've carved him a few times too, and I said to him right in the show, I said, listen, I've been very critical of you, and I had a player that played with you. You guys didn't get along too good talking about you. And I don't know if he was full of it or not, but he kind of explained that he wanted to create chaos was his logic out there. So,
he did. He definitely did, and it was brutal because obviously I put up really good numbers and stuff, and it's when Turk was there, Gallant was our head coach, and then he got fired. They brought Hitchcock in, and I missed a whole year and a half, basically a year, because the Columbus doctors screwed up on my back. I went and had one back surgery, and it was actually 2 discs, so I had to go back in and then I had L4, L5 done. When I actually blew both. I blew the lumbar 3, 4, and 4, 5. So I basically did all this rehab. I come back to, miss like 4 months, come back, and then all the same symptoms come back, and then I had to get another surgery. And Hitchcock even coached me. I come back. Hitchcock's in the league. I come back. I played 2 games after missing a year and a half, and Hitchcock's all over me, like all over my game, saying I can't play defense. I just said, Hitch, I played 2 games for you. So he was. That's all he was doing, right. Creating chaos.
Didn't he tell you that he taught Guy Carbonneau how to play hockey or something? Was that?
He was full of shit. He was really a phony at the time. I had enough of him and Gord Murphy, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's some confrontations there.
Yeah, definitely. Gord's lucky I didn't kick his ass. He's just really funny. Top both of us. I have no problem saying it.
Yeah, I know. That was a mess there too. Yeah. Hitch. I think Hitch has changed. Maybe I don't know if he's changed or not, but I think he realizes more now that all the stuff that he was doing just wasn't necessary at all. So.
Oh, definitely. I mean, to be honest with you, that's why I'm so bitter about it too, because it literally kind of crushed my career. Because I was putting up good numbers coming back, and then those guys just kind of not even giving me a chance coming back from having 2 back surgeries was I thought was just brutal. Really no respect.
Yeah. And then so you retired. You went over to Russia was it a full season you were over in Russia?
I went over for about 3/4 of the season. And it was pretty. I mean, I was playing that Chekhov Davides team. That was kind of I was over there with Chris Simon.
Oh,
I was a little bit of a gong show, but it was good. I mean, the league was good. The top 2 lines could play, and I was kind of looking forward to kind of playing a few years over there and making some good money. And I went back the following year, and that's when that plane went down with a lot of guys on it. Right. So I lost mates that played in Toronto and Beast, Brad McCrimmon and stuff, and the planes was so bad. I was like, this isn't worth it. I was never scared to fly, but that time I knew those planes were so old and stuff. I was kind of became not just kind of scared. I was like, this isn't worth it. So I kind of came home.
How was Russian life? Was it crazy as everybody says?
It was. I mean, it was especially the team I played for. It was. I think he's in jail now, but he was one of Putin's oligarchs, or whatever you call him. This guy Nikolai that owned that team, and he was like the Southern Moscow mob boss. So it was some crazy stuff. I mean, we were well protected in our drivers and bodyguards, but it was definitely the Wild West. That's for sure.
That's funny.
Were they paying you in bags of cash?
They were, absolutely. I get paid probably 4 or 5 times that year with, and every time it was different currency. I mean, literally, you get a bag with anywhere something like about 100 to 200 grand in it, and it'd be U.S. And then next time it'd be euros, next time it'd be rubles. And you basically have to go to the bank and sit there for 4 or 5 hours to wire it back. So they count and basically go through and then check every bill if there's counterfeit. I mean, it was a pain in the ass, to be honest with you. You get paid cash. So, I mean, you could obviously. And then if you fly back from Moscow to New York, it'd be like 2 different security checkpoints. So they would just kind of look and seeing if you had any cash on you to try to grab it. So it definitely, if we would want to fly home, if we wanted to bring some cash home, we'd fly home through Switzerland. That was the way to do it. If you want to bring 100 or 200 grand cash back, but you just kind of throw it in travel, go through Switzerland, and you're all right.
Right. So when you finally retired, Bryan, looking back at the whole career, how'd you feel?
Really lost, to be honest with you. It ended a lot quicker than I thought it would. Growing up and especially starting to play, you think you're going to play till you're 36, 37, 38 years old.
Yes.
And at that time, the league doesn't really, they really don't prepare you. And it's kind of, if I could do it in hindsight, I kind of almost try to set something up for myself, so right when you're done, you can kind of jump into things.
Totally.
So, obviously for me, it was a fortunate situation with good old Phil Kenner, my old financial advisor too. That's when I kind of learned everything was kind of crumbling down. My career was ending. And then the feds, the FBI kind of approached us. I came back. I was living in New York City just to kind of have a little bit of fun for a few years before I kind of go back to work or figure out what the plan was. And then got approached by the feds that, they were very careful with me at the beginning, thinking that maybe I could have been part of the heist or whatever, because I was close with Kenner. I wasn't really close with Kenner. I was just thinking close because I thought that some of these investments we made, some of these land deals with Lehman Brothers, unfortunately, they were just as crooked as Kenner was. But then I find out that pretty much, my life savings is pretty much all gone. I mean, it was close to, you get close to probably almost $4 million you got me with all the investments. So that kind of came, it was kind of, I guess, kind of hit me pretty hard with retiring and then learning that all the money that it kind of made playing hockey was gone as well.
Yeah, it was tough times. We went on, what was it, Battle of the Blades? Is that what you were on?
Yes, we went to the Battle of the Blades. That they approached me doing that too in Toronto. And that was, I mean, I was like, what am I doing here? Because I was probably about 245 pounds. I was fat. I was out of shape. And go to do this figure skating show. And that'd be great. I mean, it was for charity. I was there for 8 weeks. Ended up doing pretty good in it. It was tough work. I ended up losing I think I lost 18, 22 pounds or something like that.
Cool.
I came in second place. But it was fun. I mean, I was Mary France Dubray was one of my, she was my partner, one of the best skaters I've ever seen, to be honest with you. Her and her husband were unbelievable. But it was a good show, and it was great. It was for the charity. Unfortunately, it was with Luke Richardson, coach of the Blackhawks, but his daughter. I did charity for her. She committed suicide, which mental health and stuff. It was called Do It for Darren. It's a mental health hospital out of Ottawa. So it was to raise awareness and stuff like that was big.
Very good. And now you've got a book out.
Yeah, the book. I think that was a few years ago. Now we wrote a book. Up in Canada with Simon and Schuster and stuff, and Jim Lang. I believe it was good. I mean, it wasn't something, to be honest with you, that I wanted to write it. I wanted to reveal a little bit more in it, but they were nervous with the whole lawsuits today and stuff like this. So it's really even more than a rated G version of my story. But it's pretty good. It's a good read.
So what do you mean if you were to do it again, do it your way? Get into more details, like how you feel about Hitchcock?
Professional athlete, being a young player coming up, kind of things that you kind of got to grow up pretty quick. I mean, obviously moving to Detroit at a young age, obviously live with a family, but just the whole, then moving to New York and playing for the Islanders and, New York City with China Club, all those kind of things, going to Vegas. And there's just some stories, and then the Russian stories. There's some things that I would have liked to get out there that, I mean, they don't have to have been rated X, but at least, kind of tell some fun stories and kind of just about, the life growing up and kind of thrown to the wolves at a pretty young age.
Right. Some bad things have happened to you with the eye and the money and all that, but you really live life full out too, don't you think?
Absolutely. That's how I was raised, pretty much a day at a time, and really no regrets for sure. I mean, day at a time and deal with the way things are thrown at you, for sure. I definitely have no regrets. I would do it all again. Even with the eye, I mean, I say that was a bad financial decision, but I was 23 years old. What was I going to do for, I was glad I was able to come back and play. I wish there was some things I would have protected myself. But again, at that time, hockey, it's a middle class. It was a middle class sport. So my parents didn't know anything about making money or protecting, in certain ways. So, definitely look back, there would have been some definitely different decisions I would have made. Sure. But not, but again, I grew up from a blue collar. My dad was a mechanic and made $50,000 a year, raised 6 kids. So there's not much to, look back and think that could have been done different. So.
Would you have picked a different agent though, if you could do it all over again?
No, not at all. Not at all. Me and Tom had we had a special relationship. That's for sure.
Yeah. We're like brothers, It was other clients of mine I used to make fun of all the time. It's just you just got Berard. That's, you never talked to me. You talked to Berard. That's the way it was. But I think so much stuff happened. Like with the eye injury, I was living in Greenwich still, so they'd come down from Rhode Island the night before, stay at my house, and then we go down to the doctor in the morning. So we just with the whole family. I became part of the family. And we talked about Pam before, and that's she treated me like a son. And it was and like even if I did something wrong, she'd go let me know too. But as far as like.
I think to start to cut you off, Tom, but I think the biggest, it was almost like he was a therapist as well. Because obviously when I went to Detroit, Tom was living in Detroit at the time. He was working for IMG. There's a lot of things that I didn't really expect, obviously playing junior and stuff. So I used to call him after games and kind of pick his brain. Obviously I knew he played in the NHL as well as a defenseman. So it went a long way. And I think that's how our relationship was developed.
Yeah, pretty good. Very good. Real good. Actually, I was going to say pretty good. Excellent relationship. Yeah, and I'm so glad I'm part of your family. Bruce and Greg. What's your sister's name?
Bethany.
Bethany. Yeah. I forgot that. I haven't seen her in so long.
That's what to talk about now, because I'm part of. We started that, with all the new hockey and the academy teams that are going on today, the U14 to the U18. Right. My brother Bruce has got his son Brody, who's an 09. Yeah, is playing the U14 team now. He's a stud. Big right shot defenseman. Yeah, he's all 36 feet already, 185 pounds. He's going to be a player. Yeah. It's fun to watch back involved in the youth hockey and stuff, and kind of working with him now for 2 years, and the kid's a stud. He's a special player, and he probably has a pretty good shot. I mean, it's tough to tell at 14, but you can see his hockey IQ and the way his vision on the ice. And the kid's gifted, so he's probably got a chance to make a career out of hockey as well. So it's fun to watch.
Looks like he's pretty driven too. Like his father's showing videos all the time on Instagram and everything. The kid works hard at it too. So
yeah, he does. He focuses. He's a tough kid too. He's got a mean streak. Likes to hit, lays guys out a lot. So it should be fun to watch. Big. I think he's going to be a two-way defender. He won't be an offensive guy, but he definitely can. He's a well-rounded and moves the puck very well. So it should be fun next year.
Well, listen, I view, like we talked, I view you and your family as part of my family. So I'm really glad that I am in your life. I love you guys quite a bit. And it's been a fantastic journey since you were 16 years old.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, Tom. Right. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much for coming on the show too. I know you don't like to talk about yourself too much, but I appreciate you coming on. It's a great show.
No problem. No problem. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
Talk to you.
Thanks.
Wow, that's a first, man. You're sitting here with tears in your eyes, Tom.
It's dusty in here.
No,
allergies.
You wrapped that up and you got choked up. You're a little emotional right now.
Well, you know what? I think like you had Bryan Berard on talking about his mother. Jeez, I'm getting choked up. And his mother had passed away, like it was, and I'd become such a big part of their family, and they became a big part of my family as well. So thinking about her and the memories and all that kind of stuff, and the stuff we went through with Bryan. When I first started the agent business, I never would have anticipated I would, get that emotionally involved with the family and all the things he went through with the eye, and we get drafted, and then ask for a trade from Ottawa, which we had to do. But now you're it kind of goes against Canadian culture in the NHL to ask for a trade when you're first overall pick in the draft. You're supposed to go there, and that's the team you play for.
Lindros had done it just a few years earlier.
Yeah, Yeah. So, but that's, I remember thinking, listen, I was going to take some heat for it, but I said, that's my job. I'm an agent and my job's to protect him. So I was the spokesperson out there and people were, throwing a lot at both of us, but, I had to be the guy out there, the spokesperson for him. So
Take the heat.
So going through all the stuff and then he touched on it. I wasn't sure if you want to talk about it or not. He had that Phil Kenner, his financial guy.
Ripped him off. Yeah.
And that was a tough time because Bryan did, he'd been pretty smart with his money as far as saving it up. And, rightfully so, he'd worked hard, saved a lot of
But
money.
you as his agent have no say in his finances.
Yeah.
Right. So that's someone totally separate.
Yeah. And this Phil Kenner, and again, when Bryan touched on it too, he was a young guy when he got involved with Kenner. I'd been around a little bit and we used to argue about Phil because I didn't like him. It wasn't just me. He was just one of those guys that a lot of guys would see.
Was that part of the whole golf course thing when
Yeah.
guys were investing in the golf courses? And
So there's a lot of guys that lost, I should say a lot, but there's a few players, I think about a dozen players that had done it with him. And he wasn't even a licensed investor.
Wow, geez.
He was one of those guys that was really good at schmoozing with the players and getting them to trust him. But and again, it wasn't because I was smarter than Bryan, right? That just from being around a lot, you just
Get that slimy vibe.
Yeah, it's like, I get away from him. In fact, we argued a couple times about him. But and again, I've told you stories about myself. Part of the reason Bryan was so successful and I was successful, we just totally stubborn.
Yep.
Yeah, we just weren't going to listen to anybody. We're going to do it our way.
But we should I should say to our audience, you got towards the end they can hear it. You get wrapped up. You got choked up, man. You got and you were.
Yeah,
I've seen you show that. That's okay. You preach all this mental health and well-being, and that's okay to dive into that.
Well, I guess what it is too. I think to myself, I'm not getting emotional, and all of a sudden it comes on me, and I think we all the talk about it, especially with his mother and the family, his father, the brothers, everything. We were tight. Like I'd go stay at their house, they'd stay at my house, and man, there's a lot of emotional stuff. I guess I wasn't realizing like all the stuff he went through, and again thinking about his mother a lot too, because she really was. She was that woman. She was a rock. She's a cigarette smoker. And like she would the foul language and dance.
Well, he just said it on the episode. She jumped in fights. She was scratching people in a big brawl.
Yeah, I tell you, if you were, and I've said it before, if you were on her side, she would die for you. Literally, that's not just the saying. She would die for you, or she'd kill for you too. But if you were on the opposite side, man, you're like, man. There's times I told when I first sent a letter to him, spelled his name wrong.
No, she sounds like an awesome lady.
Yeah, she really was. And when they spoke, particularly Greg did a lot of the talk, and Bryan wasn't too comfortable doing it at the funeral about her. It was really interesting to see the memories because of what they were saying. And that's how she lived her life. She lived her life full of. That's the thing with Berard's. Berard's the same way, and we touched on it. I think you really look at that family. They really lived their life. Their life all out. Like the father. You met the father, Wally, he's a great guy, and he's an older gentleman now and everything. But they tell the stories about him driving the bike through the bar.
No, awesome
Yeah,
family. Awesome. You could see the relationship you have with him. It's awesome. Glad you guys got to catch up and people got to hear it. That was awesome.
Yeah, it's good. We should do it more. You know how we are as guys, though, too, right? We always say we got to get there more often.
And then you do, and you're like, this is incredible. This is awesome. I love it. And then you forget about it.
Remember we did a show with Dave Silk, and Dave and I got on the phone a couple days before the show and started telling stories.
Yep.
It was so hilarious.
But that's okay. It's okay to be low maintenance friends. Like, you don't have to, you can, when you pick it up, like, and guys are good, very good.
Isn't that true? Like the guys can go for 20 years and not talk to each other.
Pick it right up.
Best friends. Yeah. Bryan, dealing with Bryan was a great experience I didn't think I was going to have when I started being an agent. And just I learned so much the things we had. Like when he came back to play, I mean, we had to work. He received his insurance money, but we had to work on a deal to pay that back over time.
Oh, really?
Yes, that's something that never been done before.
Because he got the money, but because he wasn't able to play anymore. But then once he could play, he had to give the money back.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's called career ending disability insurance. So they were pretty good. They were good. You have to wait 12 months before they pay you to determine that you can't play.
Okay.
And he received. I remember when he called me and I said we just chatted with somebody. I said, "Why don't you come work with me?" I really had no idea he was thinking to come back and play. So when he did, he said, "Oh, I want to come back and play." We had a lot of people help us in that too. Herb Brooks was still alive, and he was coaching the Olympic team that was coming up. And I called Herb because we still had a good relationship. I said, "Can Bryan Berard come out and skate?" He said, "Well, listen, he's not trying out for the team." Herb, he's got that.
Yeah, of course.
He's dragged it on us. And he said, "Yeah, but he can go out and skate." And then I called a few GMs. Don Maloney had been the assistant GM with the Rangers. I obviously played with him, roommates with him. I said, "Listen, Bryan Berard's going to go skate. You may want to go to the camp and watch him skate." He came back and said, "Yeah, he can play."
Oh, good.
So I worked out a deal. And again, like Bryan touched on too, it was tough, because he just got started again. So he didn't play bad here with the Rangers, but he played all the 82 games, but wasn't really the Bryan Berard of old. But by the time he got to Chicago, I remember Sutter was the coach there, Brian Sutter. And Bryan was really playing pretty good hockey. In fact, I remember Sutter said to him one time that he wanted him on the power play. Bryan had a cannon for a shot too. Sutter said to him, like, I think he said, like, "I want you to hurt somebody with that shot. Get people to get out of the way." Like in theory, was people going to be scared.
Yep.
But Bryan was a player, man. He's and even when he got back to playing after the eye, and he got back to being used to playing with one eye, man, he could skate. A powerful skater, powerful shot. Really, he was playing junior. I think he'd been drafted and went back to junior. Well, he did go back junior, and Millbury had traded for him, I think, at that point. And he was at the game watching him, and Bryan was up ice the whole time.
Right.
He said, "Did I draft a defenseman or a forward?"
All right. It's incredible that he played 329 games. Well, first of all, 329 games after the injury.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you, did Hossa visit him, call him? Did he
Pretty sure, I think he went and visited him. Yeah, he was good about the whole thing. I was actually more mad because I thought how reckless it was, and it was a reckless play. But guys do that a lot. It's like he spun around. Bryan was behind him, and he spun around to shoot the puck coming out of the Toronto zone, and Hossa was playing for Ottawa actually, and so he just did the follow through went way up in the air.
got on? Yeah.
So I mean that stuff happens, but it's still guy was. And Bryan actually settled me down because I was hot. The guy said that bullshit. Nothing you can do about it, anyways.
Right. But Hossa was contrite.
Yeah.
He felt terrible.
Yeah, and Bryan had got no Wade Redden, who was in Ottawa at the time too. So I think those guys and maybe some other people went to the hospital before he left. I think that's what happened. They at least called him. So.
Well, Hossa's got a great rep. Everybody loves him.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Apparently he's a good dude.
Yeah, and he was a clean player. I think he felt terrible about it. But again, that's part of the game.
But also think about how incredible it is for Bryan to come back like that. Now, Jim Abbott was a famous pitcher with one arm.
Yeah.
But he grew up his whole life that way.
That's right.
Now imagine a player, you take that arm away from someone right now. Can they come back and play? Would they be able to? He lost an eye and he came back and played 300 games.
And again, we talked about the show there to see him right after when he could not walk through a doorway because of depth perception. And then that's like when he said to me, "I'm going to come back and play." I didn't want to doubt him in any way that he could do it, but from seeing that to now go back and play in the National Hockey League again, it's like,
well, I remember when you guys were working on this, people started, there were whispers that he's coming back, and everyone's like, "That's not going to happen.
Yeah,
crazy, never going to come back." And he came back and played for the Rangers.
Yeah, and really, like you said, if it hadn't been for he was he touched on it too. So I can talk. He was a feisty guy, just like his mother. He wasn't going to take crap from anybody, including coaches in the National Hockey League, and that may have hurt him a little bit, although, source of pride too. That's who he was as a person.
But it also helped him come back because he didn't take no for an answer.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But, he was really getting going there in Columbus when Hitchcock came along, and he really, and it's the old school stuff, where we did take more stuff. We didn't always talk back to coaches. And I don't know if that's right or wrong, but we didn't. And we just accepted it, worked harder. But again, that's the way he was raised. If you've been his family, they're all like that. It's like, you're not pushing me around. You're not going to screw around with that career.
But listen, great comeback, great story. Just a really good story. Really interesting life. His book's going to be awesome. Go check it out. Available everywhere. I'm glad he ccame on with us. I'm glad you got to catch up with your old client, your big guy.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, the guys like Darren Langdon, who we had on, would always tease me about that too. He says, you do represent me. Not just Bryan Berard. I really did try. It just seemed out. So even when I moved from Detroit to New York, that wasn't because of Bryan coming to the Rangers. It's I'd gone through a divorce, and my ex-wife was.
But everyone on the outside looked like you were chasing him around.
Yeah, definitely. But again, because of all the things that happened to him, we spent a lot of time together. The holdouts, and contracts, and stuff.
And apparently going to bars in Toronto as well.
Right. Yeah.
All right, well,
he was a miracle worker there. Women just love him. Yeah.
Well,
and like you said, they got one guy who was some guy said to listen, he wasn't that. Then he could.
One of the players. You're not that good looking.
Yeah.
How do you do it? Well, good for him, man. What an interesting life. What a great story.
Yeah, you know what? And we touched on that too. As much as had bad stuff happen to him, that's one heck of a life. All out.
Awesome stuff. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the show. Spread it around. Like, share, follow us. Chewbacca.
No, Chewbacca's not here. I promise.
Chewie.
Okay.
Chewie. Is that you?
Chewie.
That's what Han Solo famously says. Chewie, is that you?
Is that what he says?
Chewie said, thanks, everybody.
All right, Grasshoppers, thank you for listening. We had a fantastic show. We'll see you next time.